Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another fun conversation. This time I am meeting with Franklin Taggart, another entrepreneur who was kind enough to not just read my book, but also write a review and post it on Amazon. And so the book we're going to be talking about is my latest book, Small List, Bigger Results. Launch a successful offer no matter the size of your email list. And I want to tell you a little bit about who Franklin is, and then I'm going to read you his Amazon review. So Franklin knows a bit about business. In fact, since 1986, he has started 21 businesses. So I'm going to have to hear more about that. And since 2010, he's coached over 600 people as they've navigated the decision to take their creative dreams more seriously. He's done so many fabulous things in life. So love to hear his insights about this book and other things he's working on. So here is Franklin's Amazon review to give us a sense of what we'll be talking about. He wrote, when I read the title and blurb for this book, I initially thought it was about working with a small email list. I was delighted to find that Robbie Samuels has jammed about 6 months worth of high-level business coaching into 128 pages and a few links for additional exceptional support materials. To read it cover to cover only takes a couple of hours, but read it again slowly and take the suggested actions. One of the biggest causes of business and project failure is excluding customers, clients, audience, or whatever you call your community from the development process. Creating strong feedback mechanisms with the people you're here to serve early and maintaining them beyond the actual delivery of your product or service will change everything for your business. Read this one once a year. Wow, that is a huge testimony. I really appreciate it. Franklin, thank you and welcome to the show.
Oh, Robbie, I'm delighted to be here.
So I'm kind of curious how you first even heard about this book. When did it first sort of come onto the scene for you?
Well, you and I crossed paths in Jason Van Orden and Michael Broderick's podcast mixer. And I was really impressed initially just by the way that you supported them in creating that virtual event. And I just was like, man, this guy's got his stuff together. I've really got to pay attention. And then at some point, I don't even remember whether it was in a breakout room or whether it was in one of the mixers. You mentioned that you had the book and that you were launching it. And when I heard the title, I said, that sounds really like something that I need to read, and I need to read it soon. So I went ahead and picked up the Kindle edition and read it, and was really blown away. And like I said, I kind of had a misconception at the beginning,
Yeah.
thinking that it was about managing a small email list and making a business happen with it. Well, that's partly what it's about. But I was really blown away by the process that you unrolled in that book. It's everything that a person needs to do from beginning to middle to another beginning and onward
I love how
uh,
you just said that. Yeah.
to have a successful business. And I was, I was like, he wrote my book.
So first, I want to give a shout out again to Jason Van Orden and Michael Roderick. These are two amazing people, both business strategists, so good friends of each other. I am so pleased to have them in my life and in my network. And they host sort of regularly these gatherings of podcast hosts and people who like to be actively podcast guests as well, which is where you and I met. And I'm laughing a little about how you noticed me because I kind of can't help but drive from the back seat when I'm at someone else's event because I've done so many virtual events and produced so many virtual events that I kept sort of saying, oh, hey, unmuting and being like, hey, try this. And then I would stay after and do a little coaching with them about how to set things up next time to make things a little smoother. And it's a great event. I mean, really, they've taken their own sense of how to build community and they've layered in like really good technique using the Zoom platform. And I think that's why people keep coming back. And other
Oh, yeah.
events, people have great intentions, but not really good at using the technology. And it's like, womp womp.
Yeah.
So fantastic that you and I connected and crossed paths there and that you took the action to check out this book. I could tell you probably, a lot of this is probably, old hand to you. You knew all these concepts. But was there something in particular in the book that you appreciated the way it was written or I don't know, something that you're like, here's something that was highlighted for me that I really want to make sure other people think about and see?
Well, there were some things that I found that were refreshing and insightful. Um, in particular, one of the things that really stood out was when you were in one of the chapters that you write about stacking up for success or stacking up successes. You talked about a procedure of doing a 12-week, I can't remember how you phrased it now, but there's a 12-week period that you're really on target for one goal, and you have really just one thing, one project that you're really focused on for that 12 weeks. And then you take a month off. And that to me was permission for something that I've needed to do for years.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So this is the 12-week sprint, and in between sprints, it's not that you're going to take an entire month and do no work, but that you're going to take your foot off the pedal a bit and use those 4 weeks thoughtfully. And this was something that was sort of an evolution for me as well, because prior to that, as I wrote in the book, I had always done quarterly goals. And I thought quarterly goals were just like so much better than annual goals. I had just such a better experience with it. Annual, I didn't know whether I was working towards the goal or not. Half the time, was I putting enough effort? Was it the right goal? But the problem with quarterly goals is there's no downtime.
Yeah.
There's no permission to take the foot off the gas and coast a little bit. And so I love that 12-week sprint model sort of stuck out for you. Are you thinking about employing something like that going into next year?
I already have. And I'm really already just feeling great about it. I have a tendency to be really overwhelmed with projects. I love creating things, and I love creating things for other people, and I love helping people create things. So I've constantly got something going on. And to think about the possibility of just having a month in between to, do the reflective work that needs to happen, to kind of learn from what happened in the previous project, that really just feels like a world of relief. So that to me was probably worth the price of admission, but there was so much more.
And so I actually should mention that in the Big Results Toolkit, which I'll share here a link to, the Big Results Toolkit has a PDF that really explains what to do in those 4 weeks, how to best maximize that time in between. There is specifically time off, and at week 2 is when I suggest doing that. I was actually looking ahead at my own calendar for 2022, and I give people permission, I give myself permission as well, to adjust that a little bit. So like I'm taking off the last week of December because that's when the holidays are. It happens to be the month in between for me, but it doesn't make sense to do week 2 if I'm also doing, so week 4 makes more sense. And then in July, the last week of July, which is right before my month off, I'm going to be going away to an event. So like, make some slight adjustments, but how nice I already have 3 full weeks blocked on my calendar next year.
Yeah.
And that happened also for this year. And I work nonstop. So for me to have that kind of spelled out, and I can decline things and say, oh, I'm sorry that my calendar, actually, someone asked me to do something, I'm like, my calendar tells me I'm taking time off that week. So can we move it? And they're like, oh, of course. And I'm like, great. I mean, any other time I would have just said yes and then had no time left in the calendar.
Yeah.
It's a great takeaway. And I love that you highlighted it, because I feel like not enough people mention it, because we're always talking about, the other aspects of the book. But I do think that it could be a real game changer for you next year to have these sort of lulls in the midst of the hyperactivity.
Yeah. It was, I'm already looking forward to it.
So what were some of the other concepts that sort of stood out for you? Is there anything else you wanted to share?
One of them that was more of an affirmation of something that I've already believed and practiced for a while was the idea that your ideal clients come to you. And I really feel like that there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves to really, first of all, identify who our ideal client is, and to, go out and find out where they are and what they're doing and what they're smoking and all that stuff. And I really appreciated that you brought out the fact that when you are doing the things that you need to be doing, your ideal clients have a way of emerging toward that.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that one of the big mistakes that a lot of business owners make is that they wait until the client is in place before they develop what they're doing. And what I suggest is that you go ahead with, whatever it is that your idea is, put it together, and then see who responds to it. See who's there. And if nobody's there, maybe that's your maybe that's your clue that you're either fishing in the wrong pond, or you're, you know, or maybe it's just not the right product for the right time.
Yeah, that's why I love the idea of doing the wake up your network
Yeah.
process so that you're getting people to give you that input along the way, helping you shape the offer. Maybe you're realizing that you were kind of up here with your solution and they're like down here with the way they're thinking about the problem, and you gotta find a way to bridge that.
Yeah.
Figure out the marketing language, maybe change the modality. Um,
Yeah.
so that you're still creating all along the way. You're not just sitting on your hands waiting, waiting for some magical new thing to happen. I hate the ideal client question really stumped me for years.
Me
I
too.
shifted audiences. Had a side hustle for 5 years speaking, and when I went into this sort of with a real, this is my job now, this is my focus. I knew I need to shift it. I need to shift audiences, and I don't know why it took so long to figure that out. Like, I definitely, felt like I was starting over, but one thing I did do was I started a podcast right away,
Yeah.
and that definitely started to attract certain people to me. So by the time I was ready to iterate, people were definitely around. I won't think I was fully aware of them, which is why I need to call it out in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I really appreciated about the book is also how you wove your own story into it,
Mhm.
talking a little bit about your transition out of the nonprofit fundraising space and more into the speaking and, teaching and coaching
Mhm.
type of thing that you're doing. I really appreciated how you wove that in, because it gave a really nice context for the concepts and the practices that you're putting forward.
I have to just take a pause here and just give a shout out to my assistant Paya, who's listening in. She's doing a great job putting in some awesome notes in the comments. She's put a link
Hey,
to your LinkedIn, and then she also said, "Do you know Franklin has a YouTube channel?" So look at that. She's going to drop your YouTube channel link in there as well.
sweet.
Um, I did a podcast interview with Michael, and I did another
Yeah.
one with Jason, and so those links are all now in the comments as well. Paya, thank you. You're doing a fabulous job. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah. Thanks, Paya.
Um, so, was there? Did you? I'm sorry. Did you get a chance to download the Big Results Toolkit?
I've downloaded it, but I've not had a chance to crack it open yet. And that's on my list for the next couple of weeks as we go into kind of the downtime
Yeah,
around the holidays. So,
brilliant.
and like I said, I read it once, and I just did the 2 hour read where I sat down and read it cover to cover. And now my intention is to open it up and go through the whole process, stage by stage, chapter by chapter, with all the tools that you provided as well.
It is a very quick read, right? Like, compared to a lot of books, this is not meant to be heavy reading. But if you stop and take all the different challenges seriously, and you do all the different tasks and exercises, like this could take you a while to really dig through. I like the idea of sort of reading something through first, get a full sense of the picture, and then going back and doing what you're doing. I think that makes a lot of sense. The Big Results Toolkit, I've got the little scroll so people know how to find it. Smalllistbigresults.com. It the thing that I really love about it is it really walks you through. I'm going to switch these around. Here we go. It walks you through step by step the pieces of the book. So if you have the ebook, this is a way to have a paper version. If you have a
Yeah.
paperback, but you don't want to like write notes in it, you can keep printing every 6 months or 18 months. Like when you're going back to do this process again, you could use this again as a little guide for you. That's awesome. So are you in the habit of joining book launches? Is that something that you do often as part of just being part of your network?
I've only done it a few times, and quite honestly, most of those times are for clients. But if I find a book that I just can't not recommend,
Yeah.
I'm going to support it, and I'm going to get out there in any way that I can. So I think, this is probably the third launch that I've been a part of this year, and I was a part of a couple of them the year before. And the year before, I mean, I was doing a book launch. It seemed like every month.
So in some ways you're a veteran. How did this book launch, the Smallest Big Results book launch, compare to other ones you've been on? Was there anything that stood out to you about the experience?
I love the way that you constantly gave me opportunities to engage. and it's in your email messages, it's in your PS on your emails that says, if you've signed up for a review and you'd like to go live with me, here's your opportunity. And it's like you've created so many opportunities for people to advocate for your book that I think it's a model for anybody else to follow who wants to be successful in a launch.
I love it. And by the way, I don't know if you had a chance to go to this, but I did that big book launch strategies masterclass on Friday. Did you?
I missed it, but
You missed it. So if you signed up, you already got a link to the replay. But for everyone else who's interested in doing this, the link is now on the screen, and Paya will put it also in the comments. And there's a code for people who are watching now who want to get a discount. If you type promo code launch, very simple, promo code launch, you can get 30% off. We provided this free to the launch team members who wanted to sign up and wanted to see the behind the scenes of how we structure this and how we did this and how we think about sort of books in general. And it became like this huge, valuable, 90-minute pieces of content. It's like 70 minutes of content, 25 pages of detailed notes, including links. And we're still actually tweaking the handout. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this a Google Doc so people get the 90% done version now, and I'll work on the other 10% over the holiday and fix it up. But yeah, there's just so much for people to think about. And I had to walk the walk, Franklin, because I'm talking about launches. So how could I have, like 5 people write a review?
Well, I love the fact that you set a goal. And I think you mentioned that in the book, that you had set a goal on your first book to get 100 reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that you just put it in a tangible number. You said, I'm going to get as many reviews as I can, but I'm shooting for 100 here.
Yep.
And I think, that's a brilliant way to start. Go ahead and give yourself a number to shoot for.
Yeah, I think anyone else who's out there thinking about publishing or maybe relaunching a book, think about getting at least 50, because the amount of effort to get 50 will probably get you more than 50.
Yeah.
But the sort of bottom line minimum, I would say, is 25. I'm always surprised, Franklin. You got a fancy mic. So do you have a podcast as well?
I do.
Yeah. So you must get pitched like I do by lots of people to be on your show.
Daily.
I'm always surprised, Franklin. I get lots of pitches from these placement companies.
Yeah.
And when I check out the author's book on Amazon, there are less than 20 reviews. You paid thousands of dollars for someone to pitch, but you don't want to take the time to activate your network. And
Crazy,
sometimes,
right?
because my podcast is about networking, it's people who are writing about networking and relationships and community building. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it. There's no social proof attached to this book.
Does not compute.
Does not compute. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the podcast that you host.
I host a podcast called Your Own Best Company, and it's specifically for people who love working alone. I'm not looking for large scale growth in my business. I'm looking for steady, meaningful output and interchange with other people. Like I said, the way that I like to spend my time is primarily creating, but I also love helping other people create as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for me to honor both those bottom lines, and working alone is my preference for that.
And now, when you say working alone, do you have any team members, assistants, VAs, anyone helping you do anything, or is it all just you?
I tend to do most of my own work, and hell, if you look at it, it looks like it, because you know what? I'm not a great designer. But the fact is, like, most of my marketing is still person-to-person contact. I don't put a lot of time and effort into content marketing at this point. I've tried to do that before, and for many years I was doing that a lot. But I found that I find the right customers if I do a lot of more high-level personal contact. And that's the way that I've operated since I started. I do hire out different kinds of things. I tend to look at, like, if my skill set is between a 1 and a 7, I'm going to hire it out.
Got it. Yeah. I think the hardest part for me, Franklin, is there are things that I know how to do in my business, that I have the skills. I have the 8, 9, or 10 skill, but it's just not a good use of my time. And I've been working with Paya now since February of 2020. So she has seen me reinvent myself twice in that time frame. Um, and so it's really interesting because she'll hear that I'm doing something,
Yeah.
and then be like, "Why are you doing that? Tell me how to do that. I'll just do it." Like, if anything repetitive
Yeah.
that doesn't require strategy, it's like, it's true. Like, I need to clear more space for the strategic stuff and the planning and the, being creative and writing, and so it's been a very interesting relationship to sort of think about. Like, I'll delegate the things I don't like to do or I'm not good
Yeah.
at doing. Sure, you'll hire out for that. But I think for me, it's been, and it's not just hiring too. Sometimes it's just tapping someone. Like, I had someone in my network help me the other day think through Amazon ads.
Yeah.
He's spent 200 hours learning about Amazon ads, and I was like, "Can I just have that conversation with you?" And he was like, "Of course." And it's the kind of thing I do for other people around, maybe podcasts or something.
Yeah.
Um, but I love that because then it's like, okay, I can dive in now. I have the right language. I know the right things. So shout out to Chris Fenning, who took some time to help me think about Amazon ads for this new book.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I've thought about bringing on a VA, and honestly, at this point, I do need to take that more seriously.
Mhm.
And your book actually kind of encouraged that direction for me.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm looking at how that could unfold next year as well.
Brilliant. Well, talk to Paya if you want to have some help with your podcast, because that's her specialty right now.
I love what
So
she's
she
doing
does
today.
that and everything else. I mean, it's amazing. I actually didn't think to invite her the first 10 times I did a live, and then she happened upon one and did what she's doing right now. And I was like, that was really helpful. Can I just invite you? And if you're available, you'll come. And she was like, yeah. So it's really, really fun because she's got, even here, I'll just show you. She put in this, right? Like,
How
it's,
cool.
I don't have to sit there like typing and try to hope. And then she'll put the links on all the different social channels that this shows up on. Getting the right team members in place was really helpful. And you saw that some of my messages came from Mary and some came from me, and that was
Yeah.
also part of the having a conversation about how are we nurturing and connecting with people as we're doing this book launch. Were you
Yeah.
able to attend the Big Results training? That was the 3-part training that happened about 2 weeks after the book came out.
I missed that.
Mhm.
And what I think happened was that I actually bought the book after that happened.
Got it. Yeah, it was a little bit later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I only bought the book maybe 3 weeks ago.
Wow, and here you are. Like,
Yeah.
I love, so that means, here's the thing I really love about this. You then are a little bit of a unicorn, Franklin. I don't want to give you credit for this. Other people I nurtured through a very, long process to make sure that they got things posted on Amazon. You got the book. You took time to read the book cover to cover.
Yeah.
You wrote and posted an Amazon review without me nudging you. And then you saw the PS in one of my weekly emails that I was doing these lives, and you signed up.
Yeah.
That's an incredible journey. I wish I had more people who followed that kind of quick path without all the effort, but it's lovely when it happens. So thank you very much.
Sure.
And then you're not out of luck, because I'm going to do another 3-part training in
Oh, good.
January. Because it was so well received. I did it sort of as part of the launch, but now it's going to be helping lead people into a 12-week offer. Last one led to a year-long offer. I had a couple people sign up. It was exactly what they knew they needed, but a lot of people needed a little more time. And I'm sure you've experienced this. They need to have more of a belief in themselves and the belief in what they could create before they commit to anything longer. And
Yep.
and this is the save the date for the
Oh, very
details.
cool.
Paya, thank you so much. We'll make sure people get this on their radar sooner rather than later. We're taking a little hiatus, but when we get back in January, we're going to be talking about this. Was there anything else that stood out to you from the book, or the rollout, or anything that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
Well, I just think you've included everything that needs to be included for a startup to a scale up. I mean, it's like all of the pieces are there. And
Awesome.
anybody who comes along who's looking for a really good way, like I said, I think the feedback mechanisms that you're describing and encouraging and helping people to set up here are really crucial, especially now. And the reason that I say that is because, I mean, with the explosion of all of the internet marketing, all of the online courses, all of the different e-commerce options that are out there, the competition is fierce. And I really feel like that the key to success in any business now is going to be the quality of relationship that you have with your audience, with your customers. And a lot of what I teach is having a community identity for your customers and clients. And I feel like that you're very much on the same track.
I love it. I love when I find kindred spirits in these spaces. We
Yeah.
get to kind of see how we maybe have slightly different language for things, but we're all kind of moving in the same way and trying to encourage others to come with us. How can people find you and follow your work?
Well, you can find me on my blog is franklintaggart.com. Most of what you'll find there right now are podcast episodes because that's been my focus for the last year. This is the fourth podcast that I've started, and I'm really enjoying this one and finding a big leap in the quality of the guests that I'm finding, particularly through the mixers. And I'm hoping that Robbie will join me at some point as a guest as well.
Just got to invite me.
All right. Well, we'll set that up.
Brilliant.
So franklintaggart.com is the best way. And I also encourage people to find me on LinkedIn. There's an accompanying Facebook group for the Your Own Best Company podcast. So if you're someone who is working alone and you love working alone, we are building a community of like spirits.
I love it. Well, we'll have different links in the comments here on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on YouTube, which is where this will live.
Cool.
Please find it and share it out yourself. And thank you just for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, Robbie, this has been my pleasure. Thank you. And I'm recommending the book to everyone.
Awesome.
I'm getting ready to do my end of year blog post, and it'll be on my list of recommended reading.
Brilliant. I really appreciate the promo.
My
Cheers.
pleasure.